things I do for you people.
Look to the sky, way up on high, there in the night, stars are no right, beyond the past now.
There have been a glut of Christmas games made over the years, as has been well documented by people like Lazy Game Reviews. Some of these games were, of course, better than others. And then there is Spud, released in 1996 by British game publisher Alternative Software and developed by Charybdis. Never heard of them? Well, that's because they only had a grand total of 5 games to their name before they folded in 2000, right in the middle of producing a sequel to cult strategy hit Magic and Mayhem, which they still finished as the team regrouped under a new banner, Climax Nottingham. But Spud? I don't reckon anybody ever played this.
Hey, I did.
Shut up.
The only reason I even happen to know of it is thanks to a review I read in Software Hits, and much later an article on Just Adventure, which doesn't exist anymore, which declared it to be the single worst adventure game ever made. Is it?
No, not by a long shot. But it's certainly up there. Should I say, down there. I found out firsthand when I first played a pirated copy of this game years ago, hoping to review it, which never happened. And then for reasons which still elude me, I streamed it on my Twitch TV channel years later. I'd hoped I'd seen the last of this game after that.
But then in March of this year, the game inexplicably got a Steam release. The how and why of it still isn't clear to me, but the lone fact that there are fondly remembered games like MechWarrior 2, No One Lives Forever, or The Neverhood that still deserve a re-release, but are tied up in copyright hell, and yet games like this slip through the cracks, is proof that there is no kind or merciful deity looking down upon us.
It pisses me off to no end when a company simply sits on intellectual property and lets games they don't even care about die because of how completely asinine our copyright law is.
But still, my mission was clear. I had to shoulder the burden one final time to inform the world that this thing, this abomination, should not be. No one should be subjected to it. No one should even think about coming anywhere near it. This, my friends, is a story of how I nearly lost my sanity. This is Spud.
So right from the start, we're thrown deep into the uncanny valley with the best CGI that a British developer in 1996 could muster, and voice acting to match.
Gentle Spud, years ago you sat on my knee in the cold stores. Now I beg you to help me in my struggle against my captor. I regret I am unable to present this message in person, but my home has fallen under attack, and I'm afraid my mission to bring joy to the children of the world this year will fail.
So apparently our grandpa is Santa Claus, although nobody in the game ever refers to him as such. Did the developers think the name was copyrighted or something? I mean, he has a flying sleigh with reindeer, an army of automaton elves, gnomes, and of course he delivers toys all over the world. He's freaking Santa. End of story.
I have placed information vital to the recovery of my magic toy-making machine in the memory banks of this Gnome 2 unit. This is our most desperate hour. Help me, young fellow me lad. You're my only hope.
Oh, but they clearly weren't afraid to incur the wrath of George Lucas's legal team.
Your grandfather's being held prisoner in the South Pole by a despicable creature they call Dr. Chilblain. He's taken the magic toy-making machine to manufacture strange and evil new toys. He says he's gonna conquer the world with them.
From here, we're thrown right into the game in all of its nauseating glory. One of the big selling points of Spud was the so-called Super Look-Around O-Vision, which boils down to being able to pan around a static panorama picture and move from one static position to another, much like Myst. It works fine, I guess, and it is sort of impressive how you can continue to look around while things are actually happening around you, but the fact that your cursor is always stuck dead center in the middle of the screen and you turn around so damn quickly with just the slightest nudge is really off-putting. Now, you'd think a game about Santa and gnomes and reindeer and all that would be cute and fluffy, right? Well, let's take a trip down these stairs and oh, the no-manity! Blood and bullet holes everywhere! Those poor harmless gnomes are just splattered all over the walls! Hell of a tonal shift. You remember how I complained about Heart of Darkness being indecisive about what demographic it was aiming for? Yeah, Spud is that turned up to 11. You'll get a good taste of that real soon. For now, we just wander around the halls of Grandpa's workshop, grabbing whatever we can get our hands on, most of which are gnomes and bunnies. And the game happily reminds us of what exactly we're collecting every chance it gets.
It's a little gnome. It's a little gnome. It's a little gnome. Ah, it's a fluffy bunny. Ah, it's a fluffy bunny.
Did I already mention, by the way, that this game's entire voice cast consists of exactly one guy? All throughout the game, the same damn grating voice, masked by a dozen bad impressions, accents, and inflections, and he never fucking shuts up! And on that note, the music consists entirely of short 10-second loops of pre-recorded MIDI music that keep repeating into infinity and bore their way into your brain.
This is hell. This is hell, and I'm in it.
Inventory management is also kinda weird, as all your items are stored in this extra-dimensional cube you carry around. To combine items, you first need to place one on this workbench, then click another on that, which is just one additional step too many, as it'd be easier to just click one item on another without having to put one down first. It's like that weird item combination window in Tales of Monkey Island, it just feels wrong. You also get 3 save and load slots here, and saving your game feels strangely satisfying when it does this. Right now our goal is to find the 4 reindeer in order to take off in Grandpa Claus's sleigh, but they're all preoccupied in their own way, and so we need to get creative. And by that I mean, be a complete and utter dick in grand adventure game tradition. At the very least, the puzzles generally don't take very long to figure out, so this game's got that much going for it. Rudy is a computer geek, so we pull his plug. Blitzen's taking a nap, so we wake him with some power metal. Prancer is an inflatable we find underneath Grandpappy's bed, and I'm not going to question that for fear of losing sanity. And last but not least, Donner's taking a shower, so we cut off the water, only to be greeted by reindeer mammaries.
Why, Spud, who else could give a girl a hot flush on a cold night like this?
Now, I want it to be known that I have absolutely no problem with people who are into anthropomorphic animals and all that, but that's just plain damn wrong.
So with all 4 of the buggers present and accounted for, we take off, only for Dr. Chillblaine to take us down with a sleigh-seeking missile, and somehow Spud survives a drop from way up high as he lands on a tropical island. So I guess that means the reindeer should be alright too then.
I'll even throw in some fresh reindeer meat. Arrived about the same time as you did. Special air delivery.
Ooh, guess not. So now we run around trying to find a way off, but this whole section, like most of the game, is just padding, plain and simple. This bunny here wants to sell us a pedalo. Is that seriously what those things are called? But for that, we need $10. So it's off to find us some goodies in this cave. Cue more Lucas plagiarism as we swap a golden trumpet for a bag of sand we snag from Indiana Penguin here. Oh yeah, well, one more thing you'll quickly learn about this game is that you'll die a whole lot. Just getting to the trumpet proves to be a challenge as there's a spike trap, a bottomless pit, and several pressure plates to cross before then. All completely trial and error because when the puzzles aren't laughably easy, the game doesn't play fair in the slightest. And every time you die, you get this annoyingly mocking laughter and get sent back a ways to before you screwed up. Which is a boon, but with how frequently it happens, it's still annoying to have to retrace your steps again and again. Oh yeah, and those little gnomes you spend so much time to collect? You gleefully send one to its death on a unicycle in the name of progress. And right after you finally grab the trumpet, you gotta run for dear life as the cave collapses around you. It's times like this that the panoramic view really shows its stuff, but there's not much more to it since you just die if you stand around for too long. With trumpet in hand, we go to entertain some tourist monkeys, naturally, which earns us a banana, which we use to pass a toll booth, of course, and then we snag some rum from another primate which we hand to a pirate duck, why not, in exchange for a treasure map. So we go to dig up the treasure, but I must warn you, once we do, we'll be subjected to what is most assuredly the single worst joke in video game history.
An old sea chest. A 36 cup, I'd say.
This isn't really happening!
Long story short, we get a $10 IOU which we exchange for real money and then use to buy the pedalo which we ride off into the sunset. Only to be then greeted by this. And we're just left here unable to do anything other than quit the game.
Oh good, the game's over. That means I'm out of here. Yeah, you're not buying this for 1 second, are you?
No, this is actually just the end of Disc 1. You see, in the original DOS release, you had to manually install each disc to your PC, and once you beat the first one, you then continue on to Disc 2 by using this password, rather than just continuing organically by swapping discs like, you know, every CD-ROM game that came on multiple discs ever? Good lord, how incompetent a programmer do you have to be that you can't even figure out something as mundane as disc swapping? This was in 1996. We were well into the FMV era with games like Under a Killing Moon and Ripper that came on no less than 4 or even 6 discs each, and they had this thing down to a science. So Disc 2 starts unceremoniously as Spud reaches the South Pole, and this is easily one of the more boring sections of the game, as there isn't even much stupidity for me to call this game out on here. More than likely the first thing that happens is that you sink into the deep snow and get your head clubbed off by polar bears. Of course, if you know anything about people who live in cold climates, you know you can just stick a pair of tennis rackets to your feet and magically stay floating on the snow like Legolas. So that's exactly what we do. The bears are at least no longer homicidal, but still uncooperative nonetheless.
Halt! Who goes there?
And here's where I hit the first real stumbling block of this game. Get this. In a nearby submarine, you find a blocked off door.
It's a rusty door!
Along with a traditional English Christmas pudding and a Christmas cracker. You know, one of those things that are supposed to pop when you pull on it and contain stuff like paper hats and plastic toys. Now, you got 15 seconds to tell me which one of these you used to dispatch the bears and how. Can't figure it out? Yeah, neither could I until I looked up a walkthrough, of which there are none on GameFAQs, predictably. You throw the pudding down a slope where it then turns into a massive snowball which smothers the bears.
You know, because a pudding is sort of round, I guess. Round like the moon. Moon logic. Ugh, that was a stretch.
But this next sequence as you enter a penguin village is kinda neat, and again shows off the capabilities of the panoramic first-person view, as you're ambushed on all sides by angry penguins and have to run away from them in the one direction that isn't blocked off. But all for naught as you end up getting beat over the head anyway, but survive thanks to a hard hat that you hopefully collected along the way, and then you get thrown into a dungeon with... the carpenter and the walrus from Alice in Wonderland?
The time has come. The walrus said to talk of many things. Of shoes and ships and sealing wax, cabbages and kings.
Goody, we can add Lewis Carroll to the things this game rips off. But our sentence is mercifully cut short as we're brought before the Emperor... Penguin... Godfather?
See, kid, in life you gotta show respect. Can't have you going around flattening people, see. Take the two polar bears out there. You flatten them. You show them no respect.
And he tasked us with going into the Pixie Mines in order to rescue his kidnapped son, who looks an awful lot like the Proton John Egg mascot.
You will give me an egg!
The mines are full of confusing tunnels and a lot of more cheap deaths, like angry axe-wielding pixies, who look more like orcs to me, deadly minecarts, and a random bludgeoning machine that you have to pass at the right moment. Oh, and here's a piece of unfinished dialogue that they just ungracefully patched together.
It's a rusty lever for switching the track.
But once you get past that, the puzzles are brain dead simple and getting the kid out is a cinch, provided you sneak around the oblivious guards. So after returning our little scrambled egg to his papa, we finally get set free and can make our way to Dr. Chilblain's castle. Except there's a giant dragon in the water that eats us if we approach. You could just try feeding it one of your bunnies, but obviously we need to make it a bit spicier. Now there was a big box of TNT in the mines just out of our reach, but that's a damned red herring, because instead you just go back to the submarine and use the oil can that's now in your possession to fix the rusty door, beyond which you also find a few sticks of TNT. Attach it to the bunny, let it loose, and it explodes in your face. God! Nope. We first need to befriend a random penguin who reminds me of Kenji from Katawa Shoujo and steal his alarm clock, which we somehow wire to the TNT to make a time bomb, which now successfully kills the dragon instead of us. For the record, this is also the only puzzle in the entire game you need a bunny for, which makes me wonder why we spent so much time hobbling up and down at the beginning to find the damn things. Then after that, we still get gunned down by a pair of buff reindeer guarding the front entrance. You'll never believe how we're gonna get past these guys.
Mistletoe, Spud! Mistletoe! Did I ever tell you what a good-looking guy you are?
It's okay to be gay, let's rejoice with the boys in the gay ring.
Okay then. Gay reindeer. That's cool. Thumbs up for being progressive, care of this.
Inside Chilblain's fortress at last, we find death, death, and even more death. More gun-toting reindeer, some sentry guns, a security robot, hungry guard dogs, and even more laughing mad pixies in a rather terrifying sequence similar to the penguin ambush from before. From them we liberate a cat, which, going by this game's logic, would be used to get past the dogs somehow.
I did not see that coming.
And the robot is easily defeated by a fire extinguisher.
Fire retardant foam! Our circuitry's been shorted out!
So then, finally, at long last, the game's climax where we face off with Chilblain himself.
So, we meet at last.
Really? That's our nemesis with aspirations of world domination? Words fail me trying to describe this guy. He's like a 90s action figure thrown into a blender with Aku Aku.
Let's play!
And now, the worst part of the entire game. Chilblain sends one of his mutant toys to take us on, and in return we need to use Grandpa Santa Kringle's toy-making machine to send out a toy of our own to defeat it. But this is complete and utter trial and error. You have no idea what any toy is capable of before you send it out, so you have no clue which toys can beat which, and you can only send out each toy only once. And certain toys are effective against more than one opponent. In the end, you need to defeat 5 of Chilblain's toys, and if you're up against just one opposing toy that you have no way left to deal with, you immediately die and have to start the entire battle all over again. After 20 minutes of this, I just gave in and used a walkthrough to look up the correct combinations, which leads to the absolute anticlimax of this whole damn game. Chilblain trips out a window, falls to his death, roll credits set to the goddamn flea waltz.
That wasn't quite as terrible as I remembered. Probably because this is my third time going through the game and I pretty much knew what to expect by now, but it still sucks. It sucks so bad.
Spud is a failure of rare proportions, as it fails in every single department. The voice acting is painful, the music is bland and repetitive, the gameplay is frustrating due to poor interface design, occasional lapses in logic and sudden deaths, and most importantly, the humor tries far too hard and falls flat on its face, creating an experience that is painful every step of the way and never manages to redeem itself. And on top of that, why is this even a Christmas game? Santa and everything else Christmassy plays second fiddle to whatever other kind of nonsense the creators thought to put into this.
In short, just forget everything you saw and go on living your life in bliss, knowing you'll never have to be subjected to this thing ever again. And for that matter, stay away from this game's spiritual successor, The Quivering, as well. It's just as bad, if not worse. Still, at least I can go on knowing I'll never have to play this game ever again either, because as soon as I was done recording footage from it, I requested a Steam refund, and they honored it. Take that, motherfuckers. But hey, everyone out there, go out and celebrate the good things in life. Have a great Christmas, or whatever else you celebrate. Happy holidays, Happy New Year, and we'll see each other again in 2016 for more reviews of hopefully better stuff than this.
Come on, kid. The Emperor Penguin wants to see you. The penguin gold. Shut it, Carpenter. He snapped. And the walrus punched him hard.
Thanks for watching, guys and gals, and thanks so much for your continued support over the past year. If you want to stay up to date on my videos, please subscribe and give me a like and leave a comment to let me know what you thought. If you want to support me further, go over to my Patreon to send some cash my way every month for every full-length video I make. Happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and have a Picobello 2016. See you all out there somewhere.